Meine Damen und Herren, liebe Freunde von Convoco.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends of Convoco, a very warm welcome to the Convoco Forum 2017. Our topic this year is the common good in the 21st century. Someone asked me the other day whether the common good still exists. In the more recent past, it doesn't seem to be a guiding principle in our society anymore. In a world of growing nationalism, think of Donald Trump's agenda of America First. In a world of growing protectionism, think of Une Europe qui protège, as the new French president announced. When society falls apart and disintegrates into ever more parts, the conviction according to which we need to ponder the idea of the common good seems to weaken by the day. I'm convinced, however, that the very principle of the common good is of essential value for our society. More and more often, we hear a complaint. The scientific and economic elites in the Western world are withdrawing from the people. How can we resist this trend? What can we argue? We need to reapproach the individual societal sector. Common good in English, bonum communi in Latin, Gemeinwohl in German. It is always about the general well-being of one society. This, however, requires a community which gives priority to the common good, i.e., the interests of the community as a whole over individual interests. In order to be motivated to do so, each member of the community needs to feel part of it. Our world today consists of communities founded by human beings. These are families, the state, and global organizations. We need to feel committed to the members of these communities. We are especially responsible for the persons whose community we share. However, we are also responsible for people who do not belong to our communities. Ultimately, we cannot separate the concept of bonum communi from the universal concept of the good. Thus, the concept of the common good applies to humankind as a whole. Our modern political communities are usually determined by territorial thinking. This is the common good of the polis or the nation state. The concept of the common good, however, increasingly has a global and post-national dimension. Today, we are dealing with a very concrete common good on a global scale. When it comes to issues related to the climate or health, it is of vital importance that we think and cooperate transnationally. President Trump's decision to have the United States abandon the Paris Climate Protection Agreement means a major setback for a clearly defined and international common good. We must not ignore our obligation to act as a global community of nations. As you know, Aristotle argued already that the human being is a zoon politikon, a political being who finds his or her true nature in the community life of the polis. This has fundamental consequences. The kind of person a human being becomes depends on the social, cultural, and institutional circumstances of his or her life, which is more than his or her success or wealth. For this very reason, the common good, the bonum communi, is so important. Now, let us have a closer look at the tension between individual and community interests. What do we understand by the common good, a bonum communi? Basically, both refer to the relationship between the individual and society. This goes back to Plato and Aristotle. Both philosophers agreed that the welfare of the individual and of society go hand in hand, yet they offered two very different approaches as to how to achieve the common good. Following Plato, community welfare is an objective and a normative value system, i.e., a number of fundamental values shared by the citizens of a state. In this sense, the common good is an ethical value and a guideline that serves the orientation of one's action. The Constitution of the United States and the German Basic Law are examples of normative value systems of this kind. For Plato, the common good included the fulfillment of justice. According to this understanding, rulers and the individual members of society need to defer their own or their particular interests in order to give priority to the well-being of all. Both need to submit to the good and happy life of all citizens. For Plato, justice was legislation in general and equality before the law in the polis. An example from the UK shows that the common good is affected if the equality before the law is put at stake. The budget of the Ministry of Justice was reduced from £9.9 billion in 2010 by more than £3 billion and amounted to a mere £6.4 billion in 2015. As a consequence, much less legal aid was made available by the state. Aristotle's concept of the common good is a rather empirical one. He was convinced that the common good consists of social systems and institutions which collaborate for the benefit of everybody. The common good here is basically a set of practical systems that reduce conflicts and encourage harmony. In this view, freedom and self-government can be realized through the active participation of the people. This is the concept we find enshrined in the English legal system, the common law. A well-working, modern common good must probably offer both. It must serve as a guideline and propose procedures with the help of which society can thrive. We need to reconsider both approaches and put the common good in the center of our thinking once again. Because it seems that what used to be a society is no longer aware of the values it shares. The we is about to be lost. It would appear that one's performance at work and profit are the lowest common denominator in our society. Globalization, driven by digitization, has had us see our supranational shared interests better today. Alas, it has generated new and international enterprises and business models, e.g. Uber, Airbnb, and Amazon. These corporations consider a society a mere congregation of users or clients. Society, in terms of a social fabric or a community of values, does not exist anymore. You don't have to be an anti-globalist to realize that we might pay a high price for the ever faster push into this direction. The question is, however, whether our society is still capable of recognizing our common ground. Are we about to lose our community spirit, i.e., our dedication to the common good? We need to show the way to our societies. We need to refocus on the common good. This is particularly important in view of the technological developments that are to be expected in the current century. The Convoco event in Berlin in April discussed artificial intelligence and the common good. It is clear that artificial intelligence and more digitization will fundamentally change the labor market of the future. We don't know yet what it will look like. It is well probable that under these circumstances, labor will be an ever less important feature to convey identity to human beings. Human beings can, and what is more, want to collaborate and have thus reached their current status in evolution. Her capacity of building communities which develop the division of labor and complex strategies to distribute goods is the reason why we deem him or her the pride of creation. Alas, because of the rise of AI, algorithms, and big data, human beings may lose their positions today. We need to be aware of the key role of the community, especially today, since man and machine are about to connect, and we might even see non-organic forms of life, as predicts the historian Yuval Harari in his book Homo Deus. Since I started pondering the topic of the common good, many aspects have come to my mind which I would love to discuss with you today. How do we deal with criticism that questions a common voice altogether? What is the role of civil society, and what is the relationship of freedom and the common good? Early liberalism envisaged the state as based on the rule of law and the warranty of security and freedom. Wilhelm von Humboldt had a clear answer to the question about the role of the state, the facilitation of freedom. However, the idea of the state as a generator of welfare is much older. Our topic today is the common good in the 21st century. Timo Meinhardt, the economic psychologist who is here today, says that the common good will become the liberal question of the 21st century per se. Without the common good, there is no freedom. The common good should be considered a fundamental condition of human self-realization, and it should serve this very purpose. The common good is thus not an end in itself. The individual can use the common good as a societal resource he or she can rely on. If we accept this thesis, we should be aware of the importance of the common good for our own lives. I'm particularly interested in having Convoco dedicate its efforts this year to the topic of the common good and discuss its importance for the 21st century. Thank you.